since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, because he was under whistleblower protection and his security didn't show up, and they forcibly removed him. That means it was planned, y'all. It was a planned operation, an unauthorized rogue operation. And they took him downstairs to the basement room and they took his life. They took his life in the arms room. And then they stole his body off of Fort Bliss and trafficked his body to Juárez, Mexico. Evidence indicates there is possible organ harvesting, and VA benefits fraud. VA benefits fraud. So looks like that every day. Looks more and more like that every day. And so here we are on May 16th, 2026, getting the truth out there, because to move the system, you have to get support because the system is broken. It's pretty broken. And so the only way to make it work is if you drive it yourself. You drive it yourself with social media and people paying attention to this act of war, because what they did to Richard, a U.S. Army soldier on Fort Bliss, because he was whistleblowing of the cartel infiltration into our military that was involved in the rogue and unauthorized operation of the Walmart mass shooting. It was an act of war. It was absolutely an assault on every American. So this is why this is so important. And of course, the level is so high that people are afraid to mention his name because they can't lie about him anymore. You see, they can't lie about the whole case anymore. And um, but everything's coming out, and we are absolutely we have breaking news today, and a lot of explanations on things going on in Mexico that has everything to do with the United States. And just to explain to you the pattern here. So let me make sure that I'm on and everything's all right. And that I can hear, see everybody's comment. See, there we go. Always takes a little bit. Okay, so today I really wanted to start by talking about El Mayo Zambada, Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia. He is one of the founding um, members, him with El Chapo. Uh, El Chapo's name seems to be more popular. I don't know if it rings more or whatever. Um, I never really heard of El Mayo before this case, before our son's case. And he's so important. He's so important because he did so much damage. He is one of the founding Sinaloa Cartel members. But these are old school, and he is a more conservative of the two. And he, from our sources, um, he refused to uh, traffic meth. He refused to do that and refused to traffic women and children. So he was, the old school. And of course, trafficking children is what they want to do, is what they want to do. And I think he didn't want to go along with that. He was happy to traffic in weapons and cocaine and other things, and had, made his billions. He was a billionaire. He's a billionaire. I think he had to, when he got arrested in this plea deal that he has, um, I think he had to pay up like $15 billion. I mean, some enormous amount of money. Um, the reports are that, of course, he's a multi-billionaire, and he's Sinaloa, right? And I put up a map of where his ranch is, or where they lured him to the ranch there, in Sinaloa. And let me bring that up because I think that that's important. So here it is, and let's see if I can. So here is the ranch, and I don't want to butcher the name, but this is the ranch, and this is the main air. This is Sinaloa, okay? And of course, this is Chihuahua. All right, this is Chihuahua. Um, and here is El Paso, and right above that, right in El Paso, is Fort Bliss. You can see Texas there, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi. Okay, you can see all the famous um, places in Mexico. And here is this ranch that El Chapo's son, who is helping to run the Sinaloa Cartel. The Sinaloa Cartel is so big, and it's in factions, and you have the Chapitos faction and the Maíza faction, and from what I understand, and El Chapo's son was running the Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa Cartel, and of course El Mayo, the other, and El Chapo son, Guzman, he somehow uh, he made a deal. He made a deal because of his father being already extradited and in prison, and his other brother. He made a deal, I think, for his father, for himself, and that. How can that be? That is probably an authorized deal, right? A paid for deal. That means he has to be making a deal with some billionaires, right? Or he's paying a lot of billions. Um, but he has to have some kind of double agent in Mexico, um, that he hobnobs with. Billionaires like to hobnob with each other, to that has power in the United States to make these deals, right? And but anyway, the deal was made to entrap, to fool um, El Mayo, to bring him to this ranch. Now, there's two different stories out there. But the story that we have is that they went to the ranch, and of course, El Mayo brought his friend Quinn with him. And Quinn was executed, and El Mayo was then kidnapped at gunpoint, hooded, put on this plane, and flown, as you see, flown to El Paso, to the Santa Teresa International Jetport right there, to El Paso, where the FBI from the El Paso field office was waiting there for him on the tarmac and arrested him without an extradition order. The logbook was tampered with. The pilot, we know the name of the pilot. He has an expired pilot's license. And the logbook and the tail number were tampered with. And so this is, so unauthorized and breaks international law. It breaks the United States uh, laws, agreements, treaties, whatever you'd call it, from extradition, agreements, and of course, Mexican laws. It is just totally illegal what they did. Um, and whose plane was that? And a person was murdered during it. Quinn was murdered during it, and I think I have a picture of Quinn here. Um, see if I can. This is Quinn right here, if you can see him. Let's see if I move it up there. That's better. So that's Quinn. Um, he was, of course, lured to the ranch to meet with Ruben Rocha Moya, the very governor of Sinaloa that has been indicted by the United States. And, I guess there's going to be a lot of questions. There, Mexico City is being very slow in extraditing Ruben Rocha. Um, so we'll see. I think he was taken on a military flight. I don't know if he was extradited. I don't know about the pressure. I'm sure the pressure is incredible to extradite him. Uh, some reason, somehow, they want Ruben Rocha because he's been, I think he's a decoy, but for some reason, they want him. So, and maybe it's because of this murder of Quinn. Of course, President Trump has, two ace cards. He has a lot of ace cards, but two ace cards that I can talk about tonight um, is El Mayo, that he has El Mayo. And El Mayo, from what we've heard, was just mad as hell of this betrayal. Okay. And he doesn't forget so easy. So we, put up that President Trump has these two cards. He has Richard's case, which is and Richard's whistleblowing reports, and of course, El Mayo. So these are huge cards and with a lot of intelligence, a lot of information behind them. And both of the operations against these men, of course, El Mayo is cartel, right? But the operation was rogue and unauthorized. And that's what's important here. That's what I want to stress here is that there is a group in El Paso because he was taken to El Paso. He was taken to the Santa Teresa jetport with a plane. And that jetport is controlled by the El Paso cartel. It's controlled by a few billionaires that are absolutely the El Paso cartel. And that includes Alejandro de la Vega Foster. And does Alejandro de la Vega Foster have a plane like that? That's for investigators to look at, or anybody to look at if she has a plane and connections to this rogue operation. It's it's really important because she has connections to other rogue and unauthorized operations. It is really, they don't care to break the laws and international law and have no respect. We know that because of other operations. So this needs to absolutely be looked at, and we need to get to the bottom of this rogue operation and unauthorized operation, because I think that it could lead to a lot of things. Um, and so this is why uh, it it's interesting. You have El Mayo, and then you have the indictment of Ruben Rocha Moya, and you're like, okay, this is an important case because of the way they did it. It was so illegal. And of course, what they did to Richard, we know that because of all the tampering and everything, that it was also rogue and unauthorized, which corroborates, which establishes a pattern. So you have a pattern now, which is really important in any court case, right? Where you have a pattern that is engaging in rogue and unauthorized operations that just recently caused the deaths of 2 CIA agents and 2 AEI agents. You have um, a pattern with the Walmart mass shooting that was absolutely a rogue and unauthorized, bloody, very bloody Walmart mass shooting. And the whole cover of it, the cover up of it. You have Michael Mayella still being in the FBI office, employed by full time by the FBI office. You can't get any more rogue and ridiculous and unauthorized than that, being the brother in law of the shooter in the Walmart mass shooting. So that is really uh, another uh, incident that corroborates this pattern. The $1.27 billion tower network that is pointed straight at Fort Bliss is also, um, we believe, was facilitated in a rogue and unauthorized manner. So you have these cases over and over again that are rogue and unauthorized, and they cause so much trouble and havoc. And we can see it's could get worse. So and it did. Um, so this pattern is the rogue and the unauthorized operations. That is what that the death of Richard was indeed an operation, and it was an unauthorized operation, but it was an operation, and it was a rogue operation. It was an operation, and that is what is so important in this. And that's why El Mayo's case is so important, because it establishes this pattern with the Walmart mass shooting, with the Plenitude Crematorium, which is rogue and unauthorized funeral home fraud operation, the Walmart mass shooting, absolutely establishes a pattern. And that's why this is, and we can go on and on. There's so many rogue and unauthorized operations in right there on the borderland. The common denominator is the border, right? Um, the Alejandra de la Vega shoes that she has to put on, right? Because um, she's the double agent. She is the El Paso cartel operative. So Yeah, this is going to get very interesting, the investigation. Um, so let me read some of the comments now. Um, heard that yesterday. Yeah, thank you. El Paso Donald Trump. Okay. I see that you're translating in Spanish. Thank you so much. Um, it is, let me make sure that I have everything else because it is getting so late. And just to understand the whole El Mayo, because it's a little confusing that, oh, this is a cartel, he's a criminal, he was arrested, he's supposed to be arrested, he's in custody of the United States in New York, but when you look at the case and how they arrested him and even murdered Quinn on top of that, um, it wasn't authorized and it was rogue. Why couldn't they do it legally, right? With El Chapo, something else is going on with El Chapo's son to do this illegally like that. So, and it is, I mean, it's so many violations, I can't even tell you. And people don't want to admit to it because then that means his case is botched, right? So, that's the situation that the Biden administration put us in. Absolutely. And the El Paso cartel. Um, make sure I have this turned off. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you a video. Um, not this video. Let me see. This is a video. This is a video that's out that I'm still getting information on, and if you speak Spanish, God bless you. But it is of Quinn. Supposedly, this is when Quinn was shot, and they got it on video. I believe that's his car that he's in. So at the very end, you see this motorcycle guy go in and shoot him, and then he leaves with the gas. The gas is spraying. He doesn't even. So this is this truck, I guess, here. Um, so I don't know. I don't know, because what we have heard, our sources, and this is from the prosecutor there in Chihuahua, I believe. But I mean, not in Chihuahua, in Sinaloa. Um, but what we heard is that he was killed at the ranch. So this is a little confusing from us. It is at a Pemex station, which is the people's uh, fuel, um, and that was what was being siphoned. So I don't know, and I'll find out more information about this. But I do know that this is the same day that El Mayo was kidnapped without an extradition order, and that the sources say they were together at the ranch, and Quinn was killed. He not like this, but he was killed at the ranch, and Almayo was then taken to the plane and put on the plane to fly to El Paso. So that is what we've heard. So I don't know. Um, let's see what else we have here. Oh yes, this here. This is a new project that President Trump is doing. He just announced the new National Garden of American Heroes in Washington, D.C. And as soon as I heard that, of course, our family got together and we're like, Richard's name needs to be in this garden, in this national garden. So I think we're going to send a letter. Absolutely, we need to rally for Richard. He absolutely deserves to be in this garden. And I'm saying that after 6 years of really intense investigation every day and knowing what Richard uh, did. And of course, President Trump backs us up. We have the letters to back it up, so we can include that in our nomination of Richard into this garden. So yeah, thank you for your love on that. Um, oh, this is also good. Okay, so Maduro, this is the Maduro fashion, right? This is how it's becoming a verb, to be Maduroed. Um, and here is Secretary of State Marco Rubio sporting the same tracksuit as Maduro. And you think that this is some kind of emblem, but it's not. It's a cord. So this is the same sports suit, tracksuit as what Marco Rubio has on. It is a Nike. And of course, this was Maduro's capture outfit, right? This is Maduro's capture look. I think that is the right thing to say. And I think that Maru Campos should be in this Maru. Sorry, should be in this Maduro capture outfit. Um, yeah, so I thought that was, we call her the fentanyl governor, which is just so fitting. Um, and of course, they're being so brutal online to her, rightfully so, because she's hurt so many people. Um, and so her trial for treason, I mean, that's where this level is. The FRG or the FGR are looking at this for a reason because it's treason. And it's a very big deal. And of course, it's connected to Richard's case. And so that's why it's so important. Yeah, I talked about that. So, yeah, that is really um, huge news today. And we will absolutely, let me make sure that everybody, thank you so much. And if you can all share and if you can join and say kind words and all of that, that really helps us. That helps us so much, you wouldn't even believe it. And so, thank you, everybody, for sharing, for saying all the kind words, and also for praying for us. It is really busy behind the scenes, really busy. So, thank you so much. God bless you.